I'm done with Anthony Richardson already, and the Indianapolis Colts should be too. You want to know why? Because he can't stay healthy, ladies and gentlemen. Another injury to his throwing shoulder, the same shoulder that was injured a couple years ago that cost him the majority of his rookie season. He already got a second opinion on it, thinking it may need surgery, but apparently that's off the table for AR as of now, which is good. But so he could potentially be in line to start for week 1 for the Indianapolis Colts. But Daniel Jones also looks like he's got a good chance to start week 1 for the Indianapolis Colts because of Anthony Richardson's health situation, his injury history, and because Anthony Richardson is a horrible quarterback. Horrible, okay? I get it. He's still 23 years old, and he's only started 15 games in the NFL. But in those 15 games, he has been awful. So awful. I have a blind reveal for you, and I just sent it into the chat for these guys to look at, these two quarterbacks in this blind reveal. So for both of these quarterbacks, they started a few games their rookie years, then started the majority of their team's games in year 2. The quarterback on the right has more games played because he entered in some Wildcat packages, not as a starting quarterback, so his yards per game numbers are a little bit off. But look at the numbers between these two quarterbacks, okay? Listen, they're very, very similar, okay? The quarterback records are almost identical. One's 8-7, one's 8-6. The completion percentage, the quarterback on the left has them by 3%, but it's 50% to 47% for completion percentage. These are two of the least accurate quarterbacks in the history of the NFL. You look at the yards, they're both equally, pretty much the same, separated by 8 yards. Yards per attempt, almost identical. Like I said, the yards per game, as far as passing goes, is a little bit slanted because the guy on the right entered games that he didn't actually start in. But the guy on the right, 6 more touchdown passes, 4 less picks, a rating that's 8 points better, more rushing attempts, obviously, because like I talked about, he entered in the Wildcat packages, but similar amount of yards per carry and more rushing touchdowns. Now, if you haven't figured it out, between these two quarterbacks already, they're both drafted in the first round out of the University of Florida. Both of them were, okay? I'm sending the reveal right now into the chat, okay? The quarterback on the left is obviously Anthony Richardson, okay? And the quarterback on the right is Tim Tebow, who is out of the NFL after 3 seasons. Now, Anthony Richardson's a better athlete and has much more arm talent than Tebow. However, I said Anthony Richardson's a better athlete. Tebow went and played baseball after his career was over. That shows you how bad Tebow was in the NFL. He literally had to go play a different sport, okay? So, but again, Richardson's the better athlete. He's got more arm talent than Tebow. But again, numbers do not lie. And the more I looked also at this Indianapolis Colts roster and just this team in general, let me say this. The Indianapolis Colts are an elite quarterback away from being the best offense in the NFL. The problem is the closest thing to an elite quarterback they have is the ghost of Andrew Luck and Peyton Manning's statue outside of Lucas Oil Stadium. That's the closest thing they have to a great quarterback. The fact this is a Daniel Jones versus Anthony Richardson discussion is organizational malpractice from the Indianapolis Colts. And with that, I want to kick it to my co-stars here at Between the Uprights. And I want to kick it to Joe because Joe has a lot of experience in the Indianapolis area. So, Joe, I'm kicking it to you, my friend. What do you think about this whole Colts quarterback situation? Who should start week 1? Who's going to start week 1? And doesn't even matter.
Yeah, so for all those who don't know, my wife is an Indianapolis Colts fan. I grew up about an hour north of Indianapolis, all right? So I was surrounded by Colts fans all the time, okay? And so I was a Patriots fan living in Indianapolis during the Peyton Manning, Tom Brady matchups, all right? So when we lost those games, which wasn't too often, I lived through it. Going to school was a nightmare after that, all right? But to your point, right, I actually talked to one of my friends today who had actually watched a 30 for 30 with Jason Garrett, who was looking for the arm talent, the best arm motion, right, for throwing a football. And he was like, you got to snap it. It's got to be quick. It's compact, right? Hold the cheeseburger, right? All those sorts of things. That was what Jason Garrett said. And you can go look this 30-30 up for this. It was really good. He interviews Tom Brady and Peyton Manning and some other, and Drew Brees, I believe, and all these things. And he talked about the undoing of Tim Tebow, which was his very over-the-top, long, elongated release, right, for throwing a football. That's what did Tebow in, right? He just had a slow release. It was over the top. He couldn't get it compacted, right? From a leader standpoint, athletic standpoint, Tim Tebow was there. Anthony Richardson has all of those things, but when he was coming out, everyone's like, oh, he's Cam Newton 2.0, except for he's not as big as Cam. Oh, he's got some of the traits that Lamar Jackson has, except for he's not as fast. So he's not as fast as Lamar to avoid hits, and he's not as big as Cam to take them on. So he can't get out of the way in the way Lamar Jackson does, and he can't protect himself the way Cam Newton did. So, and I had a friend of mine who's a huge Florida fan. He says, everyone thinks he's the next Cam Newton. The guy's not it, right? And that was before he got drafted. And I was talking to him about it. He goes, yeah, I saw it coming. He's not durable. He can't do the things you want him to do. And he's got major accuracy issues, which we've seen. Anthony Richardson's main focal point of throwing a football is I'm going to launch this thing as far as I can downfield and hope to God my guy catches it. If it's anything intermediate, he's not accurate. He's not good. He has one of the highest batted ball percentages, which means he's probably staring down routes because the lineman can read his eyes. So he's not processing correctly. His arm motion, to my experience, has been pretty compact. He's got a pretty good release. But to your point, he's only played 44% of his games. And even those 44%, like he played 11 games last year, he had the 5th worst turnover-worthy play percentage at 4.7. The only quarterbacks worse than him were Spencer Rattler, Tyler Huntley, Drew Lock, and Jameis Winston. Okay?
It's a Mount Rushmore of quarterbacks right there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's fucking terrible. So you look at all this stuff, and you're like, and my buddy asked me, he goes, he's like, what are your topics going to be today for your recording? So we're recording today. And I go, oh, we're talking about Anthony Richardson. He goes, oh, what are you talking about? I said, is he out of Indianapolis? He goes, damn. The real question is he out of the NFL? And I think it's hard to say if he is, because I think he does have talent. He's athletic, but similar to Tim Tebow, maybe you should take a page out of his book and say, hey,
switch
maybe
positions.
It's time to use my athleticism to change position. Because I think that Anthony Richardson's, he's tall, he's got long arms, he's fast. Possibly if he can run some routes, maybe he can become a wide receiver. That's the best case scenario for Anthony Richardson. I think based on everything we've seen, quarterbacks like him do not survive in the NFL. You have to be durable at a minimum. You have to be able to be ready. You have to be available. That's the best ability is availability, people. We've always said it on this segment. I'm going to say it again. So at the end of the day, that's Anthony Richardson. I think he's done, especially now that he's hurt and he's probably not starting week 1, barring, and even if he does, who knows how long that lasts. In comes Daniel Jones. The Colts' best case scenario is Daniel Jones looks like 2022 Daniel Jones when he took the Giants to the playoffs. All right. That was 708 rushing yards, Daniel Jones, 3,204 passing yards, and 22 total touchdowns with 6 turnovers. That's the Daniel Jones the Colts hope they get.
That's peak Daniel Jones.
That's peak Daniel Jones.
Crazy.
That's peak Daniel Jones. That's the Daniel Jones that got him that massive ass contract that we all laughed at the Giants for signing him to. All right. He's got there was a lot of good wide receivers. They got a top 10 running back. They got I'd say arguably a top 10 wide receiver core and a top of the league offensive line. And they have they drafted a tight end this year. They have everything they need to be good in this year. And Daniel Jones, I think, has the talent to maximize that talent. Do I think that happens? That's up to Shane Steichen and Daniel Jones. I'm leaning probably not. I think Indianapolis has a better chance of being in the Arch Manning sweepstakes next year than they do of being in the playoff chase by the end of this year. Okay? So do I expect anything great from this between Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson? Absolutely not. It's a dumpster fire entirely. And I've never seen a team outside of maybe Pittsburgh, that we just talked about, to have talent and just waste it with mediocre quarterback play. And yeah, I don't know how anyone else say that. Also, big shout out to the Irsay family. I know this is an Anthony Richardson just slander campaign, but Jim Irsay did great things for Indianapolis Colts, and congratulations to all of them. Their daughter's taken over that, keeping the team in the family, and our condolences go out to you. Jim Irsay was a iconic man in the Indianapolis area and in the NFL world.
Yes, R.I.P. Jim Irsay. Obviously was in the owner of the organization when they had those great teams, whether it be Peyton Manning or Andrew Luck as well. So yes, R.I.P. Jim Irsay, that's for sure. But like you mentioned, Joe, I mean, this team has so much talent. Like I think my number one takeaway from this entire situation is I feel so bad for these young receivers. 4 really nice young receivers. Michael Pittman Jr. has already had over 1,000-yard seasons. Josh Downs is a really good slot receiver. Alec Pierce can take the top off of defense. We saw that last year. And Adonai Mitchell as well. It's really, really good. I'll get into some numbers later about Adonai Mitchell. And then, like you mentioned, Tyler Warren, a first-round tight end. Jonathan Taylor's a top 10 back in the NFL. I like the rookie they drafted as well, DJ Giddens, like you mentioned, Quentin Nelson, and a really good offensive line there in Indianapolis. So, and your quarterback room is Anthony Richardson, your veteran saviors, Daniel Jones, and you draft Riley Leonard. You draft 3 quarterbacks who can't throw and focus on running, and you have legitimately 5 great pass catchers on your team. It just doesn't make any sense. So yeah, I don't know what Indianapolis is doing as far as that goes. But Sammy, I'm going to kick it to you, man. What do you think about this Indianapolis Colts quarterback situation? Should Anthony Richardson have a job? What do you think about all this?
I think he should still have a job. It's just we're finishing year 2. I think the thing is he hasn't been healthy. 4 games in his first year, then he got hurt on his. I don't know if it was his throwing shoulder I believe it was his throwing shoulder. Then the next year he struggles to throw the ball. And then 4 games he's actually out with injury, and 2 games he got benched. So it was a very tumultuous first 2 years. I'm giving him another year. I'm not going to completely get away from him. I do think that there are like issues, but let's not forget that a lot of Colts fans were very excited for those first 4 games. I mean, granted, there were something that Anthony Richardson showed that not a lot of QBs showed was flashes of being really, really good. Now, the problem is that, his accuracy just isn't good right now. I mean, last year he completed 47.7% of his passes. Like, that's not good.
47.7%, man. Oh, my God.
47.7%. Like, I've never... Wow, I'm putting that number into perspective now.
Passer rating was 61.6, people.
Yeah, I have that written down right over here. He also has 8 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. But he rushed for shush. Hey, this is how we do it, guys. If you're not writing it down on a big notebook, you're not doing it right. He also had 499 yards and 6 touchdowns with 5.8 yards per carry. So he's a good rushing QB as well. Here's the problem. He wasn't supposed to start in the first place in his first 2 years. I genuinely believe this. I was going to say Aaron Rodgers. Anthony Richardson, when he came out of Florida, 55% completion percentage. So you saw that he was not accurate. Okay, but he had the talent. And you spent a 4th overall pick on it. Clearly in over your head already, but hey, it might take a bit for him to no, we're going to start him now. Okay, we're starting him now. He got hurt. Actually, this might be best case scenario because then we can develop him. He can learn on the bench, and then the next year he comes back and he sucks, and then he gets hurt again. So there's so many things, and then off the bench you have Daniel Jones, who we're still giving opportunities to in his 7th year. Now, granted, the Giants aren't a good organization, so that could be why, hey, give him a chance. He could. No, it's 7 years. It's year 7. I'm sorry. You're done. You're done. You're not good. Geno Smith actually had an excuse. They made an assumption off of Geno Smith because of how he played on the Jets and called him a backup. Geno Smith, that was different, right? Daniel Jones started for most of those 7 years. Not only could he not stay healthy, but when he was healthy, he was not good, ladies and gentlemen. So any prayer or wish that Daniel Jones turns his career around, respectfully, no. Okay, respectfully. I hope he does, right? I hope so. I'm rooting for the guy. But 7 years of showing me that you cannot play at a high level, granted, look, the team around him isn't crazy good, but it's not terrible either. How in the world, how can you say that's really? And then it makes me so upset. But I'm still giving AR5 time. I still am. I still think he's shown flashes. I still think he can become a better passer. He just has to stay healthy. If he's not healthy, then it's not really a talent thing. It's more of a can you stay healthy thing, and when you're on the field, are you worth it thing. And I would say he's given us a mixed bag. I don't think he's been overwhelmingly bad or overwhelmingly good either. He's been kind of in the middle of the pack. Mostly bad. More bad than good, but not you guys understand what I'm saying. It's very hard it's hard evaluating a guy who only played 11 games, okay? It's really hard after injuring himself, after sustaining an injury. I don't know. It's a very hard.
It definitely is difficult to evaluate. And like you mentioned, he showed a lot of flashes in his rookie year. But if you watched any of Anthony Richardson last year, I know for me and other people who play Madden, I've made this analogy before, and I've seen other people make this analogy before. He plays Madden exactly, or he plays quarterback exactly how I play Madden. It's just deep ball, deep ball, deep ball, run around, deep ball, deep ball, deep ball, run around. That's exactly how I play quarterback in Madden, and that's what Anthony Richardson does in real life. So So he's got to learn how to actually play quarterback instead of just spamming deep balls and using his athleticism, or else, like we talked about, I think he's going to potentially be a candidate to be a Taysom Hill or a Tim Tebow, like switch positions and use your athleticism to your benefit somewhere else, But yeah, I do agree. We may need to see something else from him this year. I just don't think we're going to see anything. I don't think quarterbacks like this end up panning out. So, Chris, I'm going to kick it to you. What do you think about this Indianapolis quarterback situation? Has Anthony Richardson done in Indy?
Oh man. I don't think he is done in Indy simply because he still has at least a year left before they can really do anything with him. Rookie contract wise, to be honest. So you hear a lot of conversations that you guys are having in regards to what he's done in the last 2 years, or really you should say his first 2 years, right? So, and we've talked about this, I feel like, multiple times when it comes to different players that have been drafted, and players who maybe were drafted in the wrong area, maybe sent to a different team and were able to be successful. So I do think it really comes down to the coaches. So if he's still having the same issues that he was having in college that you were already aware of, and you knew this going into it, but because he looks like a fucking Tonka truck, then you took him based off what you feel like he could be. That's what you took him off of, which is what you're doing in the draft anyway. You're basing it off what you think they're going to be down the line, not what they are right now. That to me is on a coaching and a standpoint of how is your front line actually helping him, if that makes sense. So, like, are you building around him in a way that's going to allow him to properly develop, which that we have not seen at all. If it, just like you said, if he's playing the game live on an NFL field and he is playing it like a video game, that is a problem. That's a problem. And if it's a problem that you have not addressed, I'm sorry, 47.7 completion percentage is ridiculous. That's what I don't care if it's your second year, your third, it doesn't fucking matter. That is ridiculous. If the only thing you can do, which he beat the Patriots off of it, so you can't really be that mad about it, but if all he can do is chuck the ball all the way down the field or find a way to run, that is a problem, and to me, that is a coaching problem. So if we're going based off coaching problem, then he doesn't have a shot in hell unless they impact that side of their area. Unless they actually look at who is coaching this player, and do we need to find someone else that's going to be able to help him develop properly? That's where my issue is. As far as, if Anthony Richardson is going to be in the league for a long period of time or on India for long, I don't know. Obviously, nobody knows. It's only, he's going into his third year. I could see it going either way. But what I will say, I've thought about this for a very long period of time today, and I have kind of stated on one side of this particular spot. I do think Daniel Dimes has a very good shot at being their their quarterback coming into week 1. I do. And simply because of that exact reason. He has a higher completion percentage. He is not as inconsistent as Richardson is. He can at least stay on the field for the most part. He's been injured in the past, but I don't think nearly as much. And he brings you something that Richardson doesn't have, which is a veteran presence. Someone that you can trust that's going to at least try his best to make the right plays. He can go middle of the field. He can go side field. He can go downfield. I'm not saying he has a huge arm, but it's enough to get by. And with the stack that you have right now in your offense, you need someone who can get the ball down the field, and it doesn't always have to be chunk plays. That's what you need. Somebody who can actually read the field and make the right plays. So for me, I think that Danny Dimes is more than likely going to be their QB1. I think Richardson goes to QB2 if he so decides, and we'll see what the way he handles that particular situation. We know how it was last year, so we'll see how he handles that particular situation and then what happens with him. But quite honestly, Matt, you said something that I was truly feeling. He may better be a Taysom Hill than an actual QB1. As a Taysom Hill player, there's a million things you can do with him. And that makes the defense very uneasy on what he's going to do when he's on the field. But if he is your number one guy, I don't feel like a lot of defenses are scared of how they need to play him. It more than likely, like, all right, we already know how to kind of take him out the game and not necessarily worry about it. His completion percentage is ridiculous. 8 touchdowns. Right. So that's where I'm at personally. So I don't know if he's out of the league. I don't know if he's off the team at the end of this year, but I really put it on the coaching staff and their front office to figure out what is going to be best, not just for their overall team, but also for him as well, to help him develop if that is something they're interested in. Because for me, it doesn't seem like they've actually given a damn to try to actually properly develop him.
I think, Chris, I don't know about what you just said. Obviously, I'm not, privy with the Colts organization or anything like that. But you see, it's just a guess, like you said. But like just watching how Joe Flacco played quarterback for the Colts last year, like it was not it was two completely different styles of quarterback, because Joe Flacco actually knows how to play quarterback and Anthony Richardson doesn't. So my question is, I'm guessing they're telling Anthony Richardson, hey, play more like how Joe Flacco plays, where, take a check down and, you got the slant open, like hit the slant, let's run some play action, whatever the case may be. And Anthony Richardson is more just like, no, I'm chucking it down the field, So my question is like, how do you, and I've seen this a bunch too, just in my, college career. I didn't play college football. Obviously I played college baseball, but like you can tell players to do whatever the hell you want them to do, but if they don't want to do it, then they're not going to do it. Like you can tell them, hey, you should hit like this, hey, you should throw like this is what you should do, this is what you should do. But if they don't want to listen to it, it doesn't matter. So they got to find a way to get to Anthony Richardson too and be like, hey, you got to be able to do this in order to be a successful quarterback, and they clearly haven't done that as of now.
And Chris, you mentioned Taysom Hill as a guy that he could become. Taysom Hill went undrafted back in 2017.
Yep.
Anthony Richardson becoming Taysom Hill would still make him a bust. So
be crazy.
There's no other angle other than like Anthony Richardson has to perform this last year, and I'm saying this is his last year, because if he can't stay healthy or if he just can't perform well, the Colts don't have time to just like develop a QB right now. Like this isn't a situation where it's like, okay, we'll wait for him. No, you got a roster that can compete and win the division now. So if he can't turn it around this year, he never will.
This has been Between the Uprights. Football is life. The rest is just details.